Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Better Call Saul, Season 4, Episode 8. It's called Coushatta. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, last week, of course, we had thoughts as to what Kim was doing with all the pens in the paper, right? And we didn't quite know. We knew it was a plan. We knew it was for something illegal, right? But we didn't know what. And Jimmy goes on a trip, right, at the start of the episode. He's on the bus, and he's taking all the stationery. Oh, that's all the stationery. And he starts writing things. And I'm like... And I this proved... I threw this out really quickly because I thought about it. But I was like, is he trying to prove that he wasn't involved and he was away, like, around the country? And he's going to write postcards and shit from, like... But I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. He's got a record. He's got a job. Like, no one can, Yeah. It doesn't work. But then I noticed in the scene that he was intentionally holding the pen weird to make it look it was different handwriting. He was trying to alternate pens and handwriting styles, and then of course eventually he starts just paying people on the bus to pitch in because his hands getting sore.
I kind of wake up the next morning and half of them are asleep, and then they just come over. It's like, yep, here's your money for 10 or whatever it was.
So and he gets to this post office in Louisiana, middle of nowhere, and that's where it cuts to the title sequence. It just cuts there. And we find out this is all part... It's essentially a heist episode, but instead of breaking into something, it's about just proving to the district attorney that Huell's this saint, and everyone's going to come and bat for him. Because ultimately what they do is they send all these letters to the judge, who is pissed off that he's getting all these letters. He's like, hey, who are you prosecuting? Santa Claus? Like, all these letters. He's just got baskets and baskets of them in the office. And we see him, go to a scene in the behind the parlor where he's got all these phones set up, and I'm like, is he like setting up all these phones to sell them or something? What's going on? Like, what's this? And it's all this big. That's where I say it's like a heist story, because it's all this plan that you're not quite sure what's going on yet until you see it actually happen. You see it in act, and then you put it together, and you see all the things sort of come together. And so first of all, and what I liked about District Attorney is that I liked that she was quite rightly pointing out to Kim that, why are you bringing in like associates for this like nothing crime? This is like
like $400 an hour people for a pro bono case.
Yeah, why do you care so much about this? And then it goes to the judge, and he's like livid that he has to deal with this. This better not show up in my courtroom. I'll be really upset with this. And of course, ultimately, when she starts, it takes it to her staff, and they all start going through all the letters, and they're looking through, and they're looking up details. Which, by the way, the website for the church that had like 100 photos of Huell, the artist formerly known as Mo, they had him, like painting the church walls and helping the poor, and serving food and doing all these various activities. But some of them had phone numbers, and they ring some of them don't answer. And then some of them do. And you hear like a woman's voice, and she's sort of putting on this accent, and you're like, who's this? Who's that? Because I got because the first guy on the phone, I'm like, okay, that was probably Saul putting on an accent, but who's this woman? It finally cuts to Saul's office, and he's got the camera crew that he's had for a couple of seasons, and they're helping do the voices and keep track of all the phones. And he's got name tags on all the phones, so this one's meant to be the church, and this one's meant to be that, and this, and it's a whole ruse, it's a whole thing. It was entertaining. I can't say it wasn't.
And then it culminates with her phoning she gets, okay, that's the church number. So he pretends to be the pastor.
Yeah.
And he makes up a bit of a tall tale, I think. Oh no, the fire.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but ultimately the thing that really pushes her over the edge is when she's like, oh, I've got some charter buses to bring us all out to support Huell when he's in court. We're all going to show up.
Yeah.
all of us locals from Louisiana, we're all going to show up and support Huell, and that's ultimately what convinces her to go and speak to Kim. And Kim's side of all this throughout the episode is probably the more fascinating stuff from a drama perspective, because sure, all the details of this are all fun, they're all entertaining to watch, they're all riveting.
Kim's stuff doesn't really come in till the end.
But Kim's stuff, like throughout, when she goes to see her the first time, and she basically, says, well, she throws down the gauntlet and says, well, we'll see, I'm going to fight you on this. And there's that shot where she's walking out of the office, the meeting room, and she just looks kind of like mortified by what she's just done. Like she's nervous. She's putting on a good game face, but she's nervous.
Yeah.
And we see, like her and Jimmy again, they're kind of separating apart. Like she's listening to music when she's trying to work, and he's saying, I'm leaving, but
I love the way the music was in that scene. 'Cause it was in her headphones, so at first it was just loud. She takes them off. You can hear it. They talk. She puts them back on. Music goes loud again. So we're still with her. Takes them off, and then this time when she puts them back on, it doesn't come back in. So okay, no, we're with Jimmy now.
Yeah, it's really neat, but it's the idea that she puts them on immediately. Like she'll finish the sentence. There's no time for niceties. It's just no, back to work, go away. And he feels like they're separating. He feels that he's losing her, and you get that kind of sense throughout the episode because he goes to to set up the phones, and I can't remember her name, the landlady who owns the nail salon, but she like, oh yeah, she's mad at you, yeah, and he's like, yeah, and she gives him a drink.
No. She goes, I don't know. She's like, oh, she's mad.
Oh sure, you're right. That was the exact phrase, but. Probably the nicest she's ever been to him when she pulls out some booze and tries to comfort him and says, hey, here's some advice, get some flowers, take her to dinner, a nice place.
Say sorry.
Yeah, say sorry. I loved that she pointed out with a cloth napkin. No cheap napkins, proper cloth napkin.
Yeah, the waiter. So,
yeah. And she leaves the bottle and he's like, I think I maybe passed that. And I think he feels like he's losing her. And I think at this point he's kind of almost accepted that this has happened, and he said a few times throughout the episode, thanks for doing this. I know it's it's not something you want to do. I think he says that at the start when he's leaving, he's packing his bags and he's getting on the bus, and so this plays out. But there's the moment after we don't hear what they're saying. Jimmy looks in the window at her talking to the DA or the assistant DA, and he goes to wait in the stairwell, and Kim comes out and she goes out. And I actually called what was about to happen. There was just the way it was building up to it. I just get this feeling that Kim liked this, which does not necessarily go against anything we said about our worries at the end of the last episode. If anything, it makes them worse because now she's going to do it again.
She's got a taste, and we've seen her enjoy it before when she's been pulling this stuff with Jimmy in the past. Like when it first started at the restaurant,
which ties into the scene with Mesa Verde this episode where. They're going through numbers. She's doing her job. She's not messing up like she did, before the time jump where she like turned them down for a phone call, right? And then she got her ass chewed out for it. But here she's doing the job, and then Kevin's like, "Hey, this is impossible." And she's telling me it's impossible, but you've pulled a few tricks out the hat before for us, So here, how about we change the design of this building to match the one in this other state because the foot traffic there is excellent, and obviously in the past, Kim, despite how impossible it might seem, Kim, because she's thirsty and she wanted the job and she wanted to do a good job, she would say, you know what, I'll see if I can pull off a miracle. Here she doesn't. Here she says, and it's not like she lies. It's not like she says something that isn't true, but she would have tried to pull off the impossible before, and here she says. No, if we do that, it's going to completely move back the timetable. All the permits we've got, all the zoning permits and stuff from the locals, all of that has to be redone. Everything has to be redone. The timetable completely moves. And I think that was the scene that told me when it got to later on before the kiss, where I was like, this isn't exciting her. And we knew it wasn't exciting her from before because she wanted to help the little guys and she wanted to go down and do the court cases. But I was really getting that sense. At the end. I like that when she comes back to see Jimmy, when he's looking at the new office, and it's this shithole with, rat problems and, boards in the windows, and he comes out and she's standing there smoking, and it's very reminiscent of the first time we ever saw them together. It's very reminiscent from, there's key moments throughout the entire show where it's them standing together like this smoking.
Yeah.
And this is where she says, he's like, sure, no, this is the last time I'll ever have to do it unless I promise you I'm never going to put you through this again. And I knew it, and again, I knew where it was going. But this is not a criticism of the show. This is a testament to the writing where I knew.
And it's that sinking feeling of going, oh, don't say it, Kim. Don't put yourself in danger again.
And I think what works for me about this when she says, "But I want to do it again," and she's got a thirst for it, she's got a taste for it. What makes this work for me is when I think about their entire relationship. He always kind of was that for her, even when they were friends and were both working in the mailroom. She had this, straight career path. She wants to be successful. She's going to work hard at it. But she always had Jimmy there to be this outlet, even if it wasn't wild in the early days, but it was always this. He's the sillier friend who she can be someone different with. She can maybe be herself, or if nothing else, something different than what she is when she's working 120% towards the career goals. And I think he's always been that for her. And I think. In a weird way, when they became like a proper couple and they became this actual okay, now we're a couple, we're going to work together, or maybe we're not going to work together because you're going to ruin my career because you're shady and so on. When that all sort of came together, it was kind of like she realized, oh wait, I can't go head on into this. I have to take work seriously. And she almost rejected the way he was and made him, and not rejected him out of her life, but put like a wall there so that it didn't infect her. And I think what's genius about the time jump that we had last episode is that it's been another, 8, 9, 10 months, whatever it's been, of her working this Mesa Verde case and being bored and just.
No, that's it. I think it's been worse for her since Jimmy lost his law license because even when he was doing just the small cases, there'd be little things he couldn't help but do, and she'd catch on to it.
That's true.
And maybe it's just on the fringes be involved, but she'd be always just there and getting enough of it. And now it's been like, going cold turkey of, okay, I've not had it. And then, all of a sudden, she's addicted again.
It was the end of season 2 when she basically susses out what he did with Chuck with forging the papers, right? And she's lying there in bed and she kind of says, if someone did do this, you'd want to make sure this, she understands from a legal perspective.
To do it better.
Yeah. And Jimmy gets what she's saying and he goes and tries to solve it, and that's when Chuck has his collapse, and that was the whole thing. But the idea that she actually likes giving the advice, she likes playing outside the rules. She just never had to do it with her own career before.
Yeah, she always had that distance because it was it's his case. I'm just hypothetically saying things. I'm not actually getting involved.
Yeah, she's not hired. She's not legally involved in any capacity. That woman's literally a pillow talk, right? That's all that was. It was pillow talk, but she's got a taste for it. But I think the sad truth of this is that I think this is part of what she was always attracted to with Jimmy anyway. But at the same time, I'm still terrified that her entire career is going to go down the toilet because of this influence, because she wants to do this.
Arguably, it's why the relationship has been a bit stale for them, because that's what it was. She was into that, and he hasn't been able to do that for almost a year.
And she
hasn't been able to be that person.
And she didn't realize that. Obviously, she likes other things about him, but she didn't realize that was such a big part of the fire. And I think this has kind of blindsided her. And that's the thing that gets me as well about her saying, I want to do it again. Is like, they don't have another case right now to do it with. She's just blanket. Because even with Jimmy, he's never said, oh, I want to do a con. And it may just think one up, right? Outside of the small stuff at the restaurant with her before, right?
Yeah, and getting the... It's always been things that have stumbled into him. It's like, I can do that to do this case, or that ornament's there. But I could make money on that.
But in terms of actual big proper cases where he's doing these big con jobs, and this has been one of the biggest, he's never went looking for it. He's always got himself into a bit of trouble where he has to do it, but he never goes where... She's like, no, let's find something else.
He goes the legal route first. He tries it, and he's like, that's not working. When I say try, he doesn't try it as hard as she does, obviously. He does the bare minimum. And then it's like, all right, okay, that's not working. Let's try something else. But he does try that stuff first, at least to a basic degree.
So if you go back to last episode's discussion, and we were talking about how terrified we were that Kim was going to be, dragged down by Jimmy, and her career was going to be kaput. What I think is interesting is that it's perhaps even more depressing and more soul crushing. That not only is that still going to be the case, probably, but she kind of wants it.
Yeah, I think it's worse that it's not this case that Jimmy's got her dragged into and she's had to help him out, and that's the one that does it, that went wrong. Like we were maybe thinking it was going to be.
Yeah.
The idea that, okay, she could stop now. She's done. They got away with it. She could be fine, but she's so into it that she's going to go out and find another one, and then eventually one of these is going to go wrong.
Yeah, and obviously that makes her a bit more culpable and compared to the original scenario we were talking about last week. But at the same time, I still think it's his influence. It's still his presence in her life has led her down this path, and what she's going to do. It's kind of like how in Breaking Bad, like Walt was a cancer to everyone around him, right? That was kind of one of the big metaphors.
It's not... Jimmy's not actively, consciously making her life worse. But just like, it's his influence. Him being the way he is.
It's just being him. He's not actively trying to do it to her. He's just being him.
No, it's not malicious.
Oh no, of course not. Yeah, that's kind of what makes it a tragedy, because you still want to like him because he's not an awful person.
He's not trying to get her involved that much. I mean, he dragged her into this one, but he's not trying to bring her down. But now she's like, no, I'm going all in on it.
And even then, he didn't try to drag her in at all. He well, I mean, he kind of did a little bit, but he accepted, no, you don't want to be a part of this, that's fine. I'll do my thing, you'll do your thing. She then said, hey, I've got an idea.
Better idea.
That was her that kind of stepped back over the line, if you will.
Yeah.
So no, it's a tragedy. We've been saying this since the start of the show, but the whole thing's a tragedy, and it's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because for every stupid thing Saul does, his heart always feels in the right place. And for every time he does something that's a little bit malicious, and you just can't quite get on his side with it, like having the old lady be hated by all of her old lady friends, he then has to turn around and admit what he's done and throw his entire plan away because he just can't live with it. So, heart of gold and all that. So, Mike, jump over to Mike and Gus. Mike takes the boys out to a strip club. I actually thought they'd drive, because I assumed they'd maybe drive them in secret to another city and then have them be out in that city or something like that.
That's what I'd have done if I was Gus.
Yeah, but instead it seems to be relatively nearby. It's not it's not a different city or anything like that.
No, because they're still worried about them being recognised.
Yeah,
or remembered.
And Kai's a bit of a dick and gets thrown out, and Mike, obviously Mike doesn't want the police to be phoned, so he steps into the bouncer. He's like, "Hey, here's some money. He messed up. Let me make this right." And he talks the situation down. But the big thing, of course, is that the head honcho, he's not enjoying himself at the strip club, so Mike takes him to a quiet bar, to have a drink. And they're bonding, and they're talking about their fathers and legacies, and it turns out this guy's dad helped build the opera house in Sydney. Little known fact. And so they'll talk about this, and this guy's ordering a German beer, and he mispronounces it, and he kind of steps in, and he says, "Oh, it's on me. It'll be nice." Yeah. And Mike leaves him, and okay, he's going to get to talk to these people. And I was like, I feel like
as soon as he leaves, you're like, oh, this is going to go wrong.
Yeah, something bad's about to happen. And Mike comes back, of course, and he's sitting there and he's talking about construction, about the almost the puzzle of excavating an underground foundation so you can build something. And at first I was like, he can't be dumb enough to actually be talking about details of this place. Like, it's one thing for him to mention he's in construction and talk about, this is when I built a skyscraper in whatever country,
Yeah.
But I'm like, but we never hear like specifically what he's saying to that extent. And when Mike confronts him the next day, he quickly pulls him out of there. He comes up and says to him, and he realizes what he's done. He apologizes, and Mike makes it very clear. Just think what might happen, given how much trouble Gus is going to make sure no one knows you're here. What happens if you blow that cover?
There's a moment when he's talking to him here. He's like, no, given the man that we work for, and I wasn't sure if he told Gus or not. I wasn't sure if he was almost covering for him, like, I'm going to give him the one chance, because Mike kind of respects and likes this guy.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to tell Gus. I thought he was going to give him this warning himself, make it very clear where this might go should he mess up like this again. But sure enough, we get a scene where he tells Gus, and Gus actually asks him what he thinks, and Mike kind of vouches for him and says, "I think he's good." And it's actually the first time in this entire show where I've went, is Mike making a mistake?
Yeah.
Because he likes the guy.
No, exactly. It is the first time where you don't necessarily trust his judgment. And it is unusual. That's a good way of putting it. Trusting
his judgment, that's a good way of putting it. Because normally, Mike's judgment is impeccable.
Yeah. And this time, I don't know. I can see that he's too friendly. He just likes talking to people, and I don't think he'll intentionally do something. I can see him slipping up again.
Yeah.
And Gus is going to have to kill... No, Mike's going to have to kill him because Mike vouched for him, and that's going to be sadder.
Yeah, that's going to be the sad ending to this. Because I don't think he intended in killing them, because why would they go to so much effort hiding them if he was going to kill them at the end?
No point, no.
Yeah, but I feel like it's going to end badly now. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
So many things in this show feel like they're going to end badly, so I guess that's not a surprise, but...
A lot of them do, though.
Yeah. So, no... So that's a shame. And I can see this Mike kind of becoming full. It reminds me a lot actually of remember half measures and full measures from Breaking Bad. That speech he gives to Walt, and how that was the big sort of pinnacle. What probably I remember actually that those two episodes at the end of season 3 were kind of like, I was loving the show up until that point. It was a fantastic show. But I remember that like sort of reaching a new height for me. That was like where, oh shit, this they just kept getting better basically. And I feel like this is kind of harkening back to that, because this was a half measure. This was, so if you remember that speech, he ended it roughly along the lines of no more half measures, and I feel like that's going to come to play with this guy here. I feel like Mike is going to have to go full measure.
I can see it.
To phrase it. So, and I would jump over to Nacho, who I've not seen in a couple of episodes. And interesting, this is the first time we've seen him, I think, since the time jump.
Yes.
So we see that he's still kind of been running the neighborhood, the local Salamanca crew.
Yep.
And we see he's kind of vicious with the one guy who's a bit light on payments, and he gives the guy, the other guy, shit for not doing it, ripping out his earring.
Yeah, very reminiscent. We saw this happen with him in the front seat last season.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you're right. And we see that he clearly wants out. We know he's trapped there because he's kind of a double agent for Gus because of this, the whole thing that we've had all season. And we see him go home. And it occurred to me that we've not really seen much of his home life before.
No, we only ever saw him with his father, really.
Yeah. Whereas here, there's two women here who he's got drugs for, and they're very nice to him.
Pretty fancy looking house.
Yeah, obviously he's doing well for himself in this business, but it feels very hollow, right? He comes home and these two are wanting to make food for him, and it's very, just very very surface level. They're there because they want money and drugs, but and they're doing whatever to keep that appearance up. And he just doesn't even say it to them. He just walks into his room, and he's got a big giant ass safe, and he's putting away his money, and he sees him and his dad's IDs. And he has like a
question is he skimming some of the money?
Maybe.
I wasn't sure if he was skimming a little bit for Gus.
I don't think Gus is interested in skimming that way from the competition.
No, that's true.
I feel like if he's skimming, he'll be skimming because he's planning to run, and he wants to build up a little nest egg.
I only questioned it because of the later scene, which we'll get to in a minute.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, because that's the big scene really for Nacho's plot here, as we get introduced to a new character, who I double checked to see if he was new because I had some second guessing myself here, and interestingly, this character Lalo Salamanca, we've never seen him before, but he has been mentioned.
Right.
And you would never have remembered this unless you'd rewatched it recently, because he's actually referenced in the first episode of Breaking Bad where Saul was introduced. When Jesse and Walt kidnap him, he said he thinks Lalo sent them. So Saul in the future knows who this guy is, and he's scared of him. So that's a really neat little Easter egg trick there to be like, okay, this guy. I mean, you get in the scene that he's maybe intimidating. He's making food and Nacho's
he's that friendly intimidating. It's the same thing Gus does.
Yeah, and he makes it clear, they won't even notice me, I'm just here to make sure everything's going okay. And we end that final shot of behind Nacho's head, but what I thought was interesting is he's watching, and this guy, he goes and sits next to the other guy in the front seat.
Yeah.
But he's there to sort of enforce, and now Nacho's going to be watched, there's this and I think the obvious question for him at this point is, are they not trusting me specifically? Is this why he's here?
And the reason I asked about skimming is because they said, oh no, they sent me because I've got a real head for numbers, making sure everything adds up all right. And I was like, okay, have they been thinking, oh, we're missing some of the take? Okay, maybe that's why they're not trusting Nacho on a service level.
Or maybe there's just enough people being late coming into him, they're not trusting him to actually take care of it. And that's what the guy means, is that he's going to...
Could be, yeah.
He's going to enforce that a little bit. But clearly, he's this big new threat. I'll give the show credit, because they give him the final scene. His introduction is the final scene of the episode. And because you could have easily ended this episode on Kim saying, I want to do it again. That is an episode ender of a line.
Yeah, it is.
Most episodes would end with that line. But with this episode...
End of their plot.
End of their plot. But they chose to end it with this, and to give this guy an introduction, to give him a real presence. And obviously there's not a lot to go on yet, but I am worried about...
No, I think presence is the key word, because he does have it.
Oh, he does. He's terrifying. It did make me hungry, though.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, I could go for a taco.
I'm like, Nacho, just eat it.
He didn't have any dinner the night before either, because they asked him if he wanted dinner, and he just went into his room. I was like, what's up, man? Does he have food? I had dinner.
I know.
Be starving.
I had 2 dinners the other day.
I can only imagine that he gets stuff maybe in the way into from work. Or maybe stuff. I mean, he does actually take these.
Western restaurant, yeah.
I mean, he doesn't work at. Well, he works in a restaurant, but he doesn't work at a restaurant. If that makes any sense.
No, but it is in a restaurant.
It is in a restaurant. He's got food.
You imagine you want food. There's going to be food.
Yeah. And presumably there'll be no paying for it. Also, I liked it when Nacho walked in, the guy in front, like just sort of giving this look that said, "Hey, there's someone here," and he looked terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew immediately that he was in the shit as soon as that scene starts.
Yeah. So no. So that was a solid episode. I don't know if it quite hits the peak of last week's, but it's probably the second best episode of the season. It's very good.
Do you think?
I think so.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that.
I think
the fun of the heist, Kim's character progression alone, kind of.
I liked it all. I just, having all three plots going was maybe a little much. Compared to some of the other episodes where we've had two at a time.
I feel like three's pretty normal for this show. I feel like we often have
we often have three, but the episodes that only have two tend to be the ones that stick in my mind a bit more as the better ones.
All right, didn't feel that, but yeah. But let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, and you can do that over there. But that is us otherwise. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?